Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. If you're not doing these things, I have to assume that you are one of the people who thought the Seattle Mariners were going to go to the World Series and beat the Toronto Blue Jays. Oof, couldn't be me. On today's episode, we will be talking about a lot of things on this pod. Brian Kelly, costing a lot of money to a lot of different people. We'll be talking about the sixth entry into our top 25 butterfly moments of the last 25 seasons. But first, we got to be talking about Adam Silver's NBA. Yes, Adam Silver's NBA, because he's going to be doing a lot of talking at the end of this week. Yes. If you haven't seen, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, has been requested to go talk to Congress about the recent discoveries that has been happening to the league. We were talking about the multiple gambling, illegal gambling allegations, along with the illegal poker games, even though those were either with players that are retired or not actual players in the league. And the cross-section of sports and politics has just been so overlapping, it's kind of hard to even believe that we've gotten so far to this point. But the biggest thing for me is when Adam Silver goes to Congress and talks to the House committee. I believe he's talking to the House. What exactly he's supposed to say? You know, like, I don't actually know how this is going to go down right now. The reason why Adam Silver is being requested is, like I just said, they're trying to go over, this is from Yahoo Sports, the code and conducts of the league. I'm like, yo, you can do that on a Google search. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need my man to come all the way down to Washington, D.C. to have that kind of conversation. What I think they really want to do is, frankly, they want to embarrass Adam Silver for what has transpired. And the overall week that was, because this story is about to be a week old now with these arrests, has really, I think, shaken a lot of players to the core, or fans to the core, in the sense of, like, the integrity of the league is the number one thing that you need to have. And if you don't have an integrity of a league, you do not have a league anymore. But the issue is that gambling is such at the heart and root now of what drives sports, not only just sports, but sports content, that, you know, this essentially is going to be, you know, the whole thing about the tobacco ads. They used to be the ones to fund the stop smoking ads. It's like, you know, you're in business with something that is dangerous, right? There is nothing you can do to can really say that the thing you are doing isn't dangerous outside of saying, stop doing that dangerous thing. But they're not going to do that. You know, it's at a point now when you're so in bed with this kind of content, you're so in bed with these type of, partnerships, that there's nothing for you else to say. And I think the biggest issue so far is, and like I said before, on the last time we spoke about this with the Chauncey Billups issue, is allegedly the mafia had a coach, an active NBA coach, on the take. And that, to me, is something that is unequivocally an issue. You know, Terry Rozier doing what he does, Javante Porter doing what he does, those things are dumb, right? But those things don't actually affect the overall game itself, right? Like, these, a lot of times, if you look at these, even with like someone like Malik Beasley, these are things that just aren't really happening. With Chauncey, you could actually not only affect one game, but an entire season of things happening. Now, allegedly, what it is saying is that Chauncey Billups allegedly just told people that the Blazers were tanking, essentially, which you can argue if that should be legal or not. But the Blazers were, going to sit a bunch of guys and then they were going to get blown out. That should just be the end of it, hopefully, but you can't know with whatever's taking on. And I think for me, the other issue with this, and this is in fact a big issue, I would say, is the fact that typically when you have these type of situations, right, the most high profile people get their names released, right? Terry Rozier, People know who that is. Chauncey Billups. These are the most high-profile guys who are involved in this arrest. But here's the thing. They said they arrested 30 people, not just Terry and Chauncey. There were 30 people arrested, and they're saying there's a connection to the mafia. My issue is that while we do not know who these mafia members might be, if you really had the guys that I guess ran stuff, you would have released their names. So to me, the fear is that they don't actually have the guys that they think that they have who might be the movers and shakers in this type of way. It is just a situation where I am very curious to see how Adam Silver tries to shake and dance to kind of get in and out of this kind of situation. But this is one of the more strenuous situations that he has to be in. By the way, we are only a week into the season, right? Bunch of guys have had 50-point games. There's so many other things to be talking about. But unfortunately, because this has been the league that I have loved for the last 20-something years, there's always something going down in the NBA that has nothing to do with the actual basketball. Sliding right over to talk about another employee of a state, Brian Kelly. He is getting kicked on out of here. Yes, the LSU Tigers lost. Again, they lost at home to the Texas A&M Aggies to the score of 49-25. They got smacked in the second half, and the writing was on the wall at that point that Brian Kelly had to go. I forgot his initial deal. He signed a 10-year, $100 million contract. Forgot it was that long. It was that much money. But his buyout is reportedly going to be the second highest buyout of all time, just passing James Franklin. Completely forgot Jimbo Fisher. They gave Jimbo Fisher $78 million to go away at Texas A&M, right? But I think the reason why this is such an important story nationally, honestly, is it shows how people will frankly lie about having money or not having the money to do X, Y, and Z. If people don't know, SNAP is supposed to stop being funded by the federal government on the 1st. So essentially this coming Saturday will be the last time that the government is funding SNAP benefits. And a large portion of people who get SNAP benefits live in districts or towns or states who largely voted for the administration that we have in place at the moment. But the other issue is when you see things like Louisiana, who is one of the poorest states that we have in this country, is going to give Brian Kelly $50 million not to coach. That seems like a really big problem because he is a state employee. That's tax money that he is getting paid. And the fact that we are going to have these SNAP benefits cut very, very soon kind of speaks to the lack of inequality that just happens in this country. And I know college football is its own beast. And I know people love their college football and people love when their team wins, right? But we are getting to a point where this is going to become inevitable. Like the reason why you have a buyout is, frankly, this is not the purpose of the buyout, right? The buyout is to essentially protect the school from a coach leaving to either go to another college or jump to the NFL, right? And it's essentially there to protect the school to keep the coach. But if there's no money at that point that the school's like, nah, we'll just eat that, that is a problem. At this moment right now, there's already talks about private equity funds starting to having to be part of flushing in college tuitions, which is going to be a significant problem if you get the private sector involved in these types of dealings. All these to say, I'm not saying that Brian Kelly should have stayed, right? But we are in a different world now where a state school is willing to eat. We have 2 state schools willing to eat $50 million for the coaches not to coach anymore. Okay? And I think a lot of this has to do with I think a lot has to do with the success of other schools that aren't necessarily like big time powers, like Indiana, being number 2 in the country. We'll see if they're able to really compete for the national championship. They don't really have anybody on their schedule until they eventually probably get to the Big Ten championship game. But Cignetti is causing a lot of problems for these kind of coaches, because before you could have a year which you aren't that good, right? You can have a year where it might be a little bit turbulent, but now there's no excuse now. Now, once Texas A&M bit the bullet and gave someone almost $100 million not to coach their team, the writing was on the wall. There is now no number that is too big that will not be accepted for them to go. So we will see who will be the next coach of LSU. It'll be so funny if Lane Kiffin goes to LSU. But we will see who will be their next coach moving forward for them and for their squad. But finally, we will get into the last part of the show, which is our number 6 entry into the top 25 butterfly moments of the last 25 seasons. If you are new to this program, this is a list that we have been doing for pretty much the second half of the season. We are going to get this done before the end of the year. I promise you. We only will have 5 left after this, top 5 after this one right here. But number 6 into our list, this is where it gets real tough. We had some back and forth about who should be number 1, who should be number 2, 3, 4, 5. But number 6 on our list is NIL entering into the picture. Yes, when NIL became legal, this happened on July 1st, 2021 was the official start of the name, image, and likeness, where college players, all college players, were now allowed to use their name, image, and likeness to receive profit while they're currently attending school. This is played out in a lot of stars who have just been college stars, be able to make a lot of money and do all these things. So I'm going to start with the positive first of NIL, because I have a lot of gripes with the overall system, but I still think that this is much better than what we had before, which was just a bag man. And it was just someone showing up to your room with a bag of cash and just dropping it off. I think that this is very good in terms of for who it gets, especially athletes who aren't at the big time, don't play the big time sports, basketball and football, right? Someone like Lily Dunn, we don't know who that person is, but she could have been a star and unfortunately would have not been able to make any money from who she was, right? If you're not an Olympic gymnastic player, which I don't believe she's at that level of being that good, she was at least able to make some money for how she performed and also how she looked, right? I think you're going to see swimmers, volleyball players. I think on the lower level of this has really affected those type of players this is going to be their highest level of athleticism. I also think it's been better for college football in the sense of retaining some talent. What I mean by that is that if you're a quarterback, right, but you have some years of eligibility left and you're like, I might go in the draft, you might be anywhere between a 3rd and 5th round pick, you're going to make more money just staying in college than potentially going to the NFL. And because the NFL has such a short lifespan, I was just talking to someone about Cam Scatterbu, the running back for the New York Giants. Unfortunately, he dislocated his ankle. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. I at least know, like, you see how that boy runs. He got playing the league for 10 years. Like this, I'm surprised he got hurt this early. I'm not surprised that he got hurt. He runs straight into cinder blocks all the time. But he was a guy who was able to make some money from NIL. And while his NFL career might not be super long, there's at least some solace in the fact that he was able to make some money while he was in college and a star player in college, right? And there's going to be so many more examples of guys, you know, who have made money or who are going to make money, who are still in college, and will have something for them when they're done playing, right? Because the amount of billions of dollars college football makes, these guys that are making essentially $100,000 to $1 million are going to at least be able to eat, you know, and get something good for all the work that they put in during that time. The issue is, and this has still been my issue for the whole time, is the fact that we are letting the colleges off the hook. While I am happy that the players who are playing college football and other sports are getting money, I still do not believe giving a person between the ages of 17 and 23 anywhere between $50,000 to $1 million, $50,000 to $1 million is a smart investment. I don't, right? The college, the fundamental purpose of college is for you to learn. And I understand that in college, and the players who go to college aren't all going to be there to learn. They're not all going to be high end students and what yada yada yada. That's not the point. The point is that you should at least be able to get something called financial literacy to be able to expand the rest of your life. Just because I gave someone $1 million does not make you rich. It does not make you intelligent enough to know what to do with that money. And the idea that we are not able to simply give college students the ability to learn how to use this money is a big time problem. And you allow so many other foreign actors to come in and influence the students. By the way, I haven't even gotten into any of the fact that, especially in college football at least, you basically have to recruit the students every single year to stay because of the money. This, to me, the NIL has always been a Band-Aid on a broken leg. The larger problem is, frankly, college football has never had an overseeing body. They've never had someone who's been able to just say, these are the rules of college football and this is the way that we are going to work it, right? The good thing about, I would say, college football getting become more siloed, right? We're losing some other conferences. The Big 12 is basically done. We'll see how long the ACC can last. It's essentially just going to be the Big 10 and the SEC at the end of the day. So hopefully there will be a meeting of the minds that they will elect a commissioner or two commissioners maybe to be able to work together to get certain things to be balanced. But at the end of the day, the way that things are going is truly the Wild Wild West. And I think the players are the people who automatically get screwed oftentimes when these things happen. So while the NIL has been so beneficial, it has made college football the minor leagues for the NFL. Same thing with college basketball. And I think the inability for anyone to take any real responsibility of what's transpired with the NIL is what the problem is. And college football and the NCAA have just been passing the buck on this issue for years. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. I don't know why my voice was going there a little bit. But thank you guys again for listening to another episode of the Men Who Cry podcast. Like I said before, like, subscribe, review, tell your friends to tell your friends to tell your friends. And we will be back talking all good things sports sooner than you think. All right. Peace out, y'all.